River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Niner Nuts. I'm Dan with hopefully good connection brought to you by Spectrum. Here with my co-hosts, James and Eric. Guys, say hello.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, everyone.
Oh, don't get me started. I don't want their sponsorship, and I don't want to give them free advertising. Anyway, guys, we're here to talk about the Super Bowl. Not this one, obviously. My new hat's coming in on Monday, but we are in Super Bowl 58 against the Kansas City Chiefs, and we want to dedicate this episode to just our thoughts on it, the game itself, like matchups that we are concerned about, other aspects. It's kind of an open floor discussion, kind of like when we got to the NFC Championship and previewed that. So I guess I'll go ahead and start off. Maybe some of our ideas will overlap like before. A key matchup for me, just previewing this game, is, of course, our offense is how our offense is going to handle Kansas City's defense. And I was thinking about it today, and I'm curious if you guys feel the same way. The defenses on paper that we've gone against before weren't, well, on paper, very good. And the Packers kept with us. They kept us in check for pretty much the entire game. And then the Lions stopped us until they collapsed in the second half and just flipped the script. So we were able to go up 27-7 on them in the second half. But these Chiefs on paper are very, very good. They consistently have held people under 30 points, which I don't remember where they were in points allowed for the entire season. I think they were top 5. But it's not their rush that I'm that scared of, because we've held rushers in check. We've helped McKivitz out a lot in that regard with Kittle. But do you remember when we played Baltimore and Cleveland and how their back seven are talented enough to challenge us man-to-man? The Chiefs are that. The Chiefs, I'm afraid, have a good enough defense that they can challenge us man-to-man and make it difficult for anybody to get open, whether it's Brandon, whether it's Debo, whether it's Kittle when we don't have him blocking with Colton. I'm very worried about Kansas City's secondary, and I have my thoughts on our defense, but I think our defense has less to worry about besides the fact that it's Patrick Mahomes and he can make magic out of chicken crap. But I am worried. So I'm not that worried about us hanging on to them, keeping them off the field. I'm worried about us staying on the field, because it's not their rush. It's that their rush can eventually get to us because that back seven is so good. Do you guys have any thoughts on that, or a different matchup that you think we should be like worried about necessarily?
Well, to go off your point, like maybe people won't be wide open, like sometimes there are with Kyle Shanahan's offense, but we know Purdy can make these tight throws and make them into coverage and things like that. So, I wouldn't be that worried about it, if they go man and they want to, go man against Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, McCaffrey, Juwan Jennings out there. I mean, that's 5 people going man, so somebody's going to have a little bit of a window to be open, and it's just going to be a matter of, what's Purdy's progression. Is it to go to Kittle first? Is it go to Debo first? Is it go to Christian first? Is it go to Ayuk first? Whoever's going to be first, but as long as the offensive line is holding up and he can make his progression, I think he'll eventually be able to spot an open enough receiver where he can make that throw. So pass defense, I mean, if they can challenge this man, I just think, the 49ers still have a lot of good players. And then, how deep can the Chiefs go with man coverage with, when you have 4 basically like really good weapons, and then a fifth wide receiver who has shown that he's a good possession wide receiver. So I think with the weapons that you have, somebody, if they go man, somebody will at least be open, and they'll have to pick their poison as who they want to double.
Right. I'm just worried about like just the overall talent of the secondary. If I'm misrepresenting the defense, my apologies. If they are doing zone more, that's not the point of what I'm trying to make. A really good secondary has caused Purdy problems. That's the point I'm trying to make. Eric, did you have a follow up on that?
Well, you were saying about the points allowed per game. It went Ravens, Chiefs, Niners in that order for points allowed per game. The Chiefs allowed 15.8 points per game. The Niners allowed 17.1 points per game this season. So definitely a stout defense by the Chiefs, and Niners pretty good as well. Obviously, I agree with what James was saying there. I mean, if they want to play us man defense all game long, I think that's probably a recipe for disaster for them. Purdy has eaten man coverage alive all season long when he's played against man coverage. And our receivers are extraordinarily talented. I mean, if you're going to cover Ayuk one-on-one with man coverage, he's going to eat you alive in terms of being able to get open with all the routes and the way that he runs his routes. You're not going to be able to cover him one-on-one. Debo is going to get open as well. If you're going to put a linebacker one-on-one with Kittle or McCaffrey, please, by all means, do that. I would love for the Chiefs to do that against us. So, I mean, they're going to have to mix it up and do something there versus just go straight man across the board, because we'll eat them alive in that regard, as long as Purdy has time.
I agree. Yeah,
if they're able to get pressure and a consistent rush with just their four guys up front, which, is the same thing that we try to do every game, then, we're going to run into problems, because then you've got 7 guys on the back end defending essentially. We don't really send out 5 guys that often. You sending out 4 guys essentially into patterns, and then there's not a lot of places to go with the ball if you're Purdy, and you don't have a lot of time to figure out where to go with the ball. So unless you have a lot of short passes available to you or a lot of checkdowns available to you, which Purdy's weakness is probably that he doesn't really check the ball down a lot. He is really about pushing it downfield and trying to make a big play. I think you saw in the Packers game, one of the reasons that we struggled for a large majority of that game was he kept pushing the ball down the field. He kept trying to make the big play. He kept trying to take the downfield shot, and he wasn't taking some of the underneath stuff that was there and available to him until that last drive when he marched down the field. So I think he learned a little bit from that, and I think that was on display a bit more in the Lions game. But he's going to have to probably adjust more to that in this Chiefs game, and we're going to have to hit some of that underneath stuff if they're able to get pressure with 4. That being said, our offensive line has been pretty good. They weren't as good in the Packers game. They were much better, I thought, in the Lions game. I think Purdy was he sacked twice in the Lions game, something like that. But I don't remember him being under a ton of duress. I mean, there were like 2 or 3 times that he had to like spin out of there and make something happen. But I think he was only pressured maybe a half dozen times or something like that. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson didn't get on the board at all in that game. So
because of George Kittle.
Yeah.
I mean, George Kittle just handled him very well.
Yeah.
And if NFL.com was singing Colton's praises, and I'm like, watch the tape again. Kittle was a big reason, not Colton.
Yeah. But I mean, it'll be a little different because they get a lot of pressure from the interior of their defensive line with Chris Jones and stuff like that. So it'll have to shift around a little differently. And maybe that's more blitz pickups from Christian or something like that. It's hard to say. Spagnuolo's a great defensive coordinator. He's going to throw a lot of crazy things at the team and a lot of crazy looks at Purdy. He's going to have to really study a ton of film on the Chiefs to look at and see what it is that they do to really be aware of what to expect in this Super Bowl game.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with Steve Spagnuolo, he was the architect for the Giants defense that beat the undefeated Patriots. And then again, I don't think he was I think he went to the Chiefs after that, or he may have went back to the Giants. But yeah, he was able to stop Tom Brady and that powerful offense that they had in New England in that Super Bowl. And so he's a great defensive coordinator. He'll have a great plan. And really, if we see what has happened the last 2 weeks, it's really going to be about second half adjustments, and how the 49ers will respond. And, I mean, we just seen this team be down in the second half, and it doesn't look like they can get anything done. And then all of a sudden they make some adjustments in the second half, and all of a sudden they look like, the greatest team on earth. So I just think it's, whatever Kansas City has to throw at them in the first half, if they make adjustments to it, and they can be successful with those adjustments like they have these past 2 games, I think, we've seen, even if they get down now, even though it's a Kyle Shanahan team, now they can come back and win the game. And that bodes well for you guys, being that now that you have faced that adversity in the locker rooms and in the games. And so, yeah, I think even if the 49ers get down, I think you guys have the talent and the smarts on your coaching staff to overcome anything that Kansas City throws at you.
I couldn't agree more. We're doing a remarkable job at adjusting, but I was texting another friend about this earlier, about the differences between Purdy and Jimmy. And Purdy is a massive reason why, because Purdy, we've sung his praises 1,000 times, but he's not afraid to push the ball. They can open the playbook for him. They can take more chances with him to avoid being in that situation in the first place. But now we've seen twice that he is a key reason that we finally snapped this failing in the fourth quarter streak that Kyle's had in his entire career. So for the game to be open at -2, I think that's fair, because these are 2 remarkable quarterbacks playing. I'm willing to use the word remarkable now. I can't wait to see everybody that has doubted Purdy up to this point, if we win the game, be like, oh, well, I guess Purdy's actually pretty good, I guess, he did win the big game. I guess he's a little bit better than a manager. There's a reason we're in this game, and there's a reason that we came back last week. We had the football gods flick a couple balls in our favor, but Purdy's got cojones of steel, and his brain, I'll continue to say this till the end of time, or when he retires, Purdy's brain is one of the best brains of all 32 quarterbacks that have been playing this year.
And he doesn't need to resurrect his Dan Marino. He just needs to resurrect his Nick Foles, because, Nick Foles outplayed, Tom Brady, and he wasn't obviously the greatest starting quarterback there was, but Kyle has created the system around him. And he, Purdy has just soaked it all in and been able to take advantage of what Kyle wants to do. And yeah, if there's any game that he's going to play the game of his life in, if he plays it this game, then you're going to win the Super Bowl. That's just how it is. And, you don't have Trent Dilfer at quarterback. Or Joe Flacco. You have Brock Purdy, a guy that has shown that he's an accurate passer. He can push the ball down the field. If he's on the team the last time the Chiefs and the 49ers play, we're probably not doing this podcast. That's really what it is. We're not doing this podcast. So Kyle Shanahan's offense is good enough to win. If Kyle doesn't do what he did in 28-3 and stays on the gas, which I think he will. I think he's learned from that lesson.
Oh yeah.
That he's going to continue with the gas, and even from this lesson last week, we saw Detroit was up, and they started to stall out, and 49ers just kept in. So Kyle knows about needing to keep the foot on the gas. And so if you guys do get ahead, I think it'll be tough for Kansas City to come back, because Kyle's just going to keep pushing the ball and take advantage of what he can in the Chiefs defense.
He's just like any other man. He's got to learn the hard way sometimes, 37 times to be precise.
Yeah, I think we've talked a lot about it on this show all season long, about how good the 49ers have been all season. And I'm going to bring up the topic that we've addressed a couple of times, that it's really up to the 49ers to not beat themselves. We've seen it in the Packers game, and we saw it in the Lions game. It wasn't so much that the Packers were doing something that was phenomenal, that was beating the 49ers. And it wasn't so much that the Lions were doing something that was phenomenal, that was beating the 49ers. It was the 49ers were beating themselves. They weren't playing good defense. They weren't crisp on offense. They were, making miscues. Purdy was terrible in the rain, in the Packers game. All of these things that they just had going against themselves that were creating this obstacle that was making the game difficult for them. And we've seen coming out, in that final drive in the Packers game, we saw coming out in the second half against the Lions game, where if they just play the game that they're supposed to be playing, that they're capable of playing, no team can hang with them. It's just not even close. I mean, they absolutely wiped the field with the Lions in the second half of that game. I mean, it was 27-7. Wasn't even close. The only reason that game was close was because they spotted the Lions 17 points. If it had been a reasonable game to start with, it wouldn't have even been close in the second half. They would have wiped them off the board. I mean, so when that team plays to the capabilities of what they're supposed to do offensively and defensively, nobody can hang with them. Nobody's hung with them all this season. That's why all of our wins have, other than the Rams win and a couple of these playoff wins, have been just blowouts. We've just smashed people all season long. And I'm hopeful that the team can really get up for this game. There's a lot of guys on that sideline who sat and suffered through that loss in 2019, 2020, when they went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Chiefs in the fourth quarter in that last game. And there's a lot of guys there who are ready for this game and who are amped and who are pumped and who are ready to come back for this. And I think they're going to really be motivated to just jam it down their throats and show them that, this time it's us. And I'm hopeful that that's going to be the motivation they need to play 4 solid quarters of 49ers football.
Well, don't forget, Ward was on the other side too. So just by proxy, that's another person. Like, he could be the one to be like, yo, I know what this was like. I see in your faces how painful that loss was. I know what that win was like. So I know. So that's just a different level of like, yeah. I know how to talk to these young guys. Like, pay attention to this. Don't pay attention to this. Focus on our game plan. Don't let the pomp and circumstance like overwhelm you. Like, yeah, it's kind of cool, but it's better to think about it after the fact when we got our rings,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think something like we saw in the Packers teams too was because, maybe the 49ers didn't take them as seriously as they should have. They probably thought 7th seed Packers, we dominate them all the time in the playoffs, and maybe thought, hey, we can just show up and beat this team, failing to realize that any given Sunday, and so that was probably a factor. I mean, and I think it could have been a factor in the Lions game too, where they were just like, oh, it's the Lions, they're really, as much as they are doing well, it's still the Lions, so that sentiment could have been in there too, because, they had that sentiment last year too with the Eagles. I think last year they felt like they were the better team, obviously, and felt like they didn't have to do much to beat the Eagles. And I think that's the attitude that they've had, when facing teams. And while it's a good attitude to say we can go in and win this game, it has to be more than like, oh, all we need to do is show up and get past that attitude. And I think with these previous 2 games, hopefully that attitude has gone away.
I'm sure that's going to be a massive motivator. Like, it's not so much the schemes that like Kyle or Steve come up with. It's executing them. It's not taking anything for granted. Like, just because, like, you don't want to put yourself in that position. I think that's what they're going to be talking about all these 2 weeks when they're not in the media meetings is, hey, we don't want to be in a position when we're down to halftime. We need to do what we're doing again. We need to do what we were doing again and smash the crap out of people. Like, yeah, we can come back but let's just not be there to begin with. Like, we're too good for this. There's too much talent. There's too many resources put into this roster. We just gotta, there's ways to take advantage of Kansas City. I didn't want to be all doom and gloom at the top. Like, yeah, I'm worried about their secondary, but that offensive line is actually not that good. The right side of the field gets flagged all the time for holding when there's actually a pass rush. Patrick Mahomes has no one to throw to except MVS decided to finally start playing, which is kind of scary, but at the same time, MVS is just as likely to drop a ball. So, then he's got Kelsey, and like that's it. Rice is not bad, but he's not great. And then they can't run Pacheco the entire game. We're not gonna let him run Pacheco the entire game. We're gonna force him to have to make plays on his own, which he can run, and it's Patrick Mahomes, of course. Like, don't take him lightly, but there's ways to take advantage of this team so our offense can stay on the field and wear out that defense. We have enough talent to do it. You just gotta do it. Don't assume we're gonna win. Like, and being in a hole 24/7 against the Chiefs. If we are down that low against the Chiefs of all people, that's gonna break my heart a lot more than the Lions. Because if you ask me, can we come back from 24/7 against the Chiefs? I'll believe it if I see it. I'm not trying to be a hater, but I mean, it's the Chiefs. You don't want to be down 24/7 to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
That might be insurmountable.
Yeah, that's not going to go well. We certainly can't spot them 17 points by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, it's going to be a real interesting chess match in the game, just between all the coaches and all the coordinators, right? I mean, you're going to have Andy Reid on one side going against Wilkes on our side, and then you're going to have Spagnuolo on their side going against Kyle on our side. I mean, those are real heavyweight matchups from a coaching perspective in terms of just the talent and the skill that those guys have as coaches and coordinators. You know, we talked last time in the Lions game that, you know, we thought Dan Campbell would kind of toss out the kitchen sink and we'd see some trick plays and some stunts and some things that they would do. And I think we're going to see that from Andy Reid's offense this game as well. I think we're going to see probably at least two different plays or situations in which they do something tricky or different or weird, you know, out there on the field that we haven't seen before, that throws a wrinkle into things, and that's very unexpected. You're going to see that out of this game because you've got to pull out all stops to try to get some sort of a win. I won't at all be surprised if we don't see some sort of a halfback pass from either Debo or Christian in this game out of Kyle from somebody to somebody in this game to try to do something like that. You know, I don't think was it this year that Christian threw the pass, or was that last year?
Last year in the first game, I think it was, or second game.
Yeah. So I don't
against LA.
So I mean, I don't think we've seen anybody throw a halfback pass or a wide receiver pass this year. So, you know, why not bust that out in the Super Bowl, right? As something to try to get a spark when you need something. So, I mean, I won't at all be surprised if we see something tricky out of both sides in this particular game. And the defenses are going to have to be ready for it. The 49ers defense is going to have to be ready for it. You know, the reason, you know, it hurts to say it, but, you know, the reason that, well, not the entire reason, but one of the reasons that we lost that last Super Bowl was because the defense collapsed in the fourth quarter. Sherman blew a coverage down the field on Watkins and let him get a big bomb. They let him throw a big bomb to Tyreek Hill on another coverage. They just missed and blew a bunch of coverages at the end, and people started getting open, and, you know, it all collapsed. And then you put everything on Jimmy to bring it back in the end, and he just wasn't capable of doing that. So, I mean, we can't put ourselves in that same position this go around because, you know, we'll probably end up with the same result. Now, I think we've got better talent offensively this time to possibly surmount that. I think our defense is better overall than the 2019 team defense was. I don't think our defense is as good as last year's defense was, which is unfortunate. But I still think it's good enough to easily win this game if everybody just brings their A game and does what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, one thing the Chiefs are going to do is they're going to watch every single play that you played on defense and see what you guys had trouble with. I mean, that's what Andy Reid did to the Eagles last year. They basically watched every single defensive snap that we took and saw
57 sweeps.
Yeah, that's what they did. They saw that we couldn't handle that and we had trouble with that. And so they just implemented it into the Super Bowl and ended up scoring 2 touchdowns off of it to, in the second half. So if there's anybody who's going to watch every single defensive play that you guys did this year, it's going to be Andy Reid, and he's going to have a plan and he's going to find out what you guys can't cover. So it's like you said, Eric, it's so many minds on each side going against each other. And, you know, who's going to outsmart who is really what it's going to come down to. And like very, very much so, the Super Bowl is a time where if you have something in your pocket, you bring it out in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You know, look at Philly special. Like they didn't run that all year. Nobody knew that they had that in their playbook. And basically it had never been running. It was only run in the NFL once, you know, and that was it. It was never run again. And so they were like, okay, we can probably get away with doing this sometime during the game or the playoffs or something. And they pulled it out in the Super Bowl at a very critical time. And, you know, it's things like that type of aggression and, you know, trick plays and things like that. You have to have stuff that is not on film. And if you want to win these games, you know, and I'm sure, Eric, you're right. Kyle has something in his playbook that the Chiefs have not seen, that he's been waiting for the right moment to use. And if there's going to be any game that we see it in, it's going to be this game.
Yeah, and you hit on something there, James, that I think is really important when you talk about Andy Reid watching all the plays on defense. Ambry Thomas better have his dancing shoes on, because Andy Reid is going to go at him and go at him hard all game long. So, you know, we've talked about it in the previous 2 playoff games. Well, not so much the Packers game, but with the Lions game, that Ward needs to travel with the best receiver. So Ward needs to travel with Rice in this game, because Rice is their best receiver. Nobody else is even close on that team in terms of being good other than Kelsey, and he can't really follow Kelsey around. So, I mean, like, you know, he's got to travel with Rice the entire time, and Thomas is going to have to be on his game. He is going to have to stand up, and he is going to have to defend against whoever it is that they stick out there, whether it's MVS or whoever else the Chiefs have. I don't even recall the rest of the Chiefs receivers.
Could be Watson, most likely MVS. I mean, I could see MVS being covered by Demo, because I feel like they'd run most of his go routes out of the slot. I don't know, though. I haven't watched much of the film.
Yeah, but whatever. I mean, they're going to go at Thomas. He is the weakest spot on that defensive secondary. And, you know, I mean, I'll take a Thomas versus MVS matchup, because I think MVS sucks because he drops balls all the time. But at the same time, Thomas is also sometimes a penalty machine. And they may just be willing to chuck it at him a half dozen to 10 times and be like, if we get 3 or 4 pass interference calls out of it, you know, those are just as good as receptions. So who cares?
Gibson, too. Gibson's gotten a few PI calls lately that weren't good.
Yeah. And I mean, that I think is the biggest, without getting into anything real sophisticated or real nuanced, I think that's the biggest area that they can just easily exploit on the Niners defense.
Well, and Andy Reid's good at creating mismatches too. So, like, he may make it look. He may like figure out a way to get Ambry Thomas having to cover Travis Kelce, or have Ambry Thomas cover Rice. You know, like he'll like if there's a way to scheme Travarius Ward out of the game, you know, or you know Fred Warner or whatever. I mean, you do have a lot of good pieces, but he will find mismatches, and you know you could see Travis Kelce against Thomas, or you could see Rice against Thomas, or Pacheco against Ambry Thomas. So Andy Reid's going to figure out a way to exploit that weak link, and he's going to look for opportunities to get not just MVS, but he's going to look for other ways to get his best receivers covered by Ambry Thomas as well.
Let's just do him during put him on the outside.
Oh, you're breaking up, man. Really bad.
You hear me now? I saw my picture blink.
Yeah, we can hear you now. We have no idea what you just said, though. It was like.
I was saying I was gonna say let's just do Thomas dirty and put Demo on the outside and Logan Ryan in the slot.
So
that's what we did at the end of the Lions game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Thomas didn't practice. Today. Yesterday. No, I think he was. I think he was a DNP. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
I thought him and Kittle were both DNP. With his ankle. So, I mean, I don't know. He's got 2 weeks to be ready for his ankle, but who knows what'll happen with that. But I don't know.
Not Isaiah Oliver.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure. But it's going to be interesting to see. There's a lot of depth that goes into all of this from an offensive and a defensive perspective. I mean, offensively, the Niners are going to have to figure out how to scheme, their guys open against that Chiefs defense. I mean, those guys are really great in coverage back there. Their back seven is really fantastic, and the Niners are going to have to figure out how to scheme guys open and use a bunch of crazy concepts to get guys available and open for passes that Purdy can make.
And we have two of the best offensive minds and two of the best defensive minds going at it in this game. So
yeah,
it's going to be really interesting to watch. And, me being just, I mean, yeah, I'm rooting for the 49ers because Dan but there is the part of me that's like, can I see a good game?
Well,
it's going to be a good game.
Yeah,
I get it. I get it. Andy was a part of your history. I can't blame you.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty sickening that the Chiefs are they're getting into Patriots territory.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say before you go, Eric. I know you got to go soon. Let's just all just laugh at everybody that hates this Super Bowl because collectively at the end of our game, everybody was bitching about this is the one Super Bowl combination no one wanted.
I mean, I think I think really nationally it's a pretty good combination, to be honest. I mean, the Chiefs are obviously default America's team other than the Cowboys right now because they've got, Patrick Mahomes, who's in every commercial that's on TV. They've got Travis Kelce, who's in about every third commercial on TV. And you've got the Taylor Swift effect. So they're adored and loved by everyone. Even my daughter is like, Dad, I want to watch the Super Bowl. Taylor Swift's going to be there, right? And I was like, yeah, she's going to be there. She was like, yeah, I want to watch. And I was like, okay, fine. So
yeah, I'm cool with this matchup too. A lot of things I saw on the internet were like the whole country wanted Lions, Ravens, and got the exact opposite of it.
Yeah, and whatever the over is for State Farm Patrick Mahomes commercials, just bet the over because we're gonna get Mahomes auto. We're gonna get every single one for this game. I guarantee it.
But I mean, say that again with your chicken nuggies.
Yeah, but I mean, I think from if I'm the NFL, if I'm Roger Goodell, from a ratings standpoint, this has to be the best matchup, right? I mean, Ravens Lions wasn't going to draw anything.
Ravens Lions would have drawn interest from probably outsiders. Thinking Detroit first time in the Super Bowl, that'll give them somebody to root for. But you're right.
No, literal history. Lamar gets his first ring, or Detroit gets their first ring. I think there would have been some decent viewership.
I mean,
I don't think non-NFL people know that or care. I mean, they don't know that the Lions are an insufferable franchise.
I think there's plenty of people out there that will say the Lions, who are they? And they're in the Super Bowl. The people who don't even know,
maybe,
because the Lions have just not been. They were they probably beat Detroit has a team. Oh, and they're in the Super Bowl.
Maybe.
Yeah, I would say it's like the Diamondbacks getting to the World Series, but look who just was in the World Series.
Yeah. But I just think from a national perspective, I think that the Chiefs 49ers matchup was the best thing for ratings. I mean, I think that's going to carry tremendously. Obviously, the Chiefs are going to draw a huge crowd and a huge set of ratings just from casual fans alike. And again, Taylor Swift people are going to watch it. And then the Niners fan base is huge, and we legitimately have a lot of star power on our roster that just draws people in that people are going to want to watch to see. They've heard Bosa, they've heard Kittle, they've heard Debo, everybody's heard of Purdy now, whether they like him or don't like him or think he's a game manager or not. Everybody's heard of Purdy, so I mean, he draws a lot of people in. So I mean, I think it's a good draw from a TV perspective. You guys want to give a final prediction, because I do have to dash shortly. You guys want to give a final prediction on the game?
Yeah. I think I'll go first real quick. I think this is going to be a tight, relatively low scoring game. I think it's going to be, honestly, 27-21 us. It'll be the first time Kansas City lost while scoring 21 points. I think it'll be 27-21.
I'm going to go Niners 21-17. Like you, Dan, I think it's going to be low scoring with the defenses in play. I think it's going to be a one score win. The same, it's going to be by one score. I think we're going to have a great Super Bowl. I think it's going to be, two great teams, two great franchises going against each other, and we got an up and coming young quarterback going against, what is starting to become the evil empire of football, and so yeah, I think the 49ers will come on top. I think it'll be one score, 21-17 49ers is my prediction.
All right, I'm going 31-24 Niners. I think the Niners are going to crack the 30-point barrier. I think that's the key to winning this game. I thought that was the key to winning the Lions game. I think it's the key to winning this game. I think they're going to have to get over 30 to win. I think they're going to have to hold the Chiefs to under 30 if they plan on winning. I think they're going
really? They have to score 30, and the Chiefs, they have to hold the Chiefs under 30.
I know.
It's really great insight.
Brilliant analysis. Brilliant analysis.
You have to hold the Chiefs under 21, apparently, because I saw they've won every game where at least 21 points were scored.
I think the Chiefs will get to 24. I think it'll be really close, but I think the Niners are going to get to 31. I think the Chiefs are going to be at 24. I think the Niners are going to win. I think they're going to complete this revenge tour that I've really felt that they've been on all season long, where they've really thought that this was where they were supposed to be last year, and they got robbed by Purdy being hurt. And I think they've really worked hard and fought hard, and this was what they've been just all completely focused on this entire year to get back to. And this is their goal, and I think they're going to achieve it. So
yeah, and
hopefully.
I don't know what the offer up is tribute, but if we can offer up tribute to the football gods that it's not determined by some stupid holding play in the last minutes again for this,
for sure.
We don't even have time to talk about Bill Vinovich. We didn't touch base on him, but he is the head ref. So.
Well, we got 3 shows to do next week. We got plenty of time.
Half-hour deep dive on Bill Vinovich. We're booking it.
All right. Peace out, guys. I got to go.
Yeah, adios, man. Well, I think I'll go ahead and there you go. I'll boot you out. I think with that, let's flip. How do I flip us back? Nope, a little too high. There we go. Now we're center. I think with that, we should go ahead and talk about our sponsor, RoyalRetros.com. I'll keep it short because I don't know how good my internet is. RoyalRetros.com is your go-to place to get an authentic throwback jersey. Right now, for Niners fans and Bay Area fans, check out the Candlestick collection. It's curated with the Bay Area in mind. Use promo code Shady Sports to get 10% off of your entire order. Once you find something you like, it is 10% off your entire order when you use the promo code Shady Sports. It helps out the channel. It helps out us and Shady Sports Network. Again, promo code Shady Sports to get 10% off of your entire order at RoyalRetros.com. Go get yourself a throwback jersey today. James, how did that read sound?
Sounded good. Still choppy with the video, but you're good to go. And so, guys, it's my turn to talk about what we're doing to raise awareness of owner standards being less than player standards. The NFL has said that
didn't mean to jump the gun on that, but
yeah, owner standards are supposed to be greater than player standards. But however, we haven't seen that from the NFL, being that one, Jed York, the COO of the 49ers, is implicated in a insider trading scandal from a company that he ran that helped students cheat during the pandemic. And then the Houston Texans minority owner was also charged with very serious sexual crimes in Kentucky. And we don't like this. We don't like how the NFL reported on this and how they waited for independent reporting agencies to break the story. Whereas if, I don't know, a player were involved in any type of incident, the NFL would have it on their news network and they'd be running it 24/7. So with that, we are trying to raise awareness to this, and we are selling T-shirts to help a Kentucky Crisis Center, and we will have that center on our next show, not this week, but next week. And so, really, we're trying to make this statement: owner standards are less than player standards. # owner accountability. $22.99 gets you that in a T-shirt, or we have different styles. We also have different colors and different sizes. Our next shirt is our podcast logo art. You'll find this on our profiles when you listen to us on Spotify, when you watch our channel on YouTube. You can get that on a shirt, $22.99, get you that in a premium unisex tee, or we have different styles and different sizes of that as well. Here we have our alternate logo. I have this T-shirt, very nice quality. You can get that $22.99 in a t-shirt. We have different colors, different sizes as well. And finally, our mascot. How can you say no to a peanut eating peanuts while cheering for his San Francisco 49ers? $22.99 gets you that in a t-shirt, different styles, different sizes. Donate to a Kentucky Crisis Center today by Googling Niner Nuts Apparel and going to the bonfire.com website. We have taken down TeePublic because somebody bought a sweatshirt from there and did not go to the Bonfire account. So in order to stop any confusion or anything like that and get the most out of the donations, we're sticking with bonfire.com until further notice.
Yep. Like James said, check the show notes to get your clothes on bonfire.com. And yeah, we just want you to have a cool shirt and help a family in need. We don't want any proceeds from these shirts. Yeah, the only thing, I mean, Pro Bowl's happening this weekend. Still lots of coaching carousel news I want to save for like a real episode. Our injury report is really good. So the only thing I really want to say is just enjoy this downtime. Enjoy the pomp and circumstance next week, guys. I will be wearing my hat in next week's episodes if it actually gets here on Monday. But you know, let's just soak it in and have a good time. Just yeah, hopefully we get to the mountaintop this time. Don't get kicked off it, but yeah, just try to enjoy the fact that we got here and there are 30 or 15 teams in our conference specifically that wish we were here or wish they were here instead of us. So just soak it in. Just yeah, who knows? Because like Dan Campbell said, who knows if we're going to get here again. So yeah, anything else that you want to add, James?
No. Outro music, River Road, Justin Muth.
Catch you on the next episode, guys. Beat the Chiefs.
River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long. River Road, where have all the women gone? Have they kissed her hand and waved you bye-bye? Have they thought about crossing your double yellow lines? River Road, they love the way you whine and cry.